Hello and welcome to Thursday Night Talk. This is a show where we discuss the week in Humboldt, the local issues, and the local personalities with the local personalities. I'm Talvi Fried, and I'll be your local host for the next hour. Humboldt Roller Derby is back, kicking off their new season, or they kicked off their new season on February 24th. What is Humboldt Roller Derby? Have you ever been to a Humboldt Roller Derby game? Do you even know what skating is? What is a roller skate, and why is it different than a rollerblade? And why can't I play on derby with rollerblades? If you haven't been to a game, why not? It's kind of the hottest ticket in town right now. Why are their games the hottest ticket in town, though? Joining us tonight to talk about these questions and more are two of Humboldt Roller Derby skaters, Brawn Picard and Bridge of Khaza-Doom. Welcome.
Hey.
Hello.
Thanks for having us, Talvi.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you're both here. If anybody listening has questions for our guests, feel free to text them to 707-498-4146. Again, that's 707-498-4146. We will accept the texts. My producer will read them, not me, because that can be scary for me. Kidding. Love y'all. So, welcome, Derby crew. Let's get into it. Pretend I don't know what roller derby is. What's roller derby?
Ooh. All right, it's a sport, full contact sport that we play on roller skates. And you asked about roller skates. So we play on quad skates. So there's 4 wheels per foot. And some folks may have grown up with those skates. Other people who were blessed to be kids in the 90s and 80s may remember roller blades more, but the quad roller skates are what we play on. And do you want to explain how we have players on the track?
Yeah, definitely. And I think part of the idea behind why we use quad skates with 2 wheels in the front and 2 in the back rather than the 4 in a line is it's a lot more stable. And stability is really important when you're playing roller derby. Essentially, there are 2 teams that they send out 4 defensive or offensive players who are kind of their defense and offense team. And there's 1 player who is the jammer. They are the people who have a star on their helmet, and they're the ones who actually earn points. And so each team will field their 4 kind of defense offense crew, and they'll each put out a jammer. And the really simple version is all the defense folks are trying to prevent the star from getting through and getting points. So you're doing all of that full contact hitting to be able to prevent that person from passing you. Because when they get through and pass people, that's how they get the points.
Yep.
So that's kind of the very, very basic part of it.
Yeah, and we play on a flat track that's elliptical, so it looks kind of like a roller rink. It has really specific dimensions, but it's basically an oval. Some folks may remember bank track roller derby. So roller derby from the 60s and 70s and 80s was played at an angle. And that's not the style of roller derby we play, but it is still hard hitting, fabulous, fun. It's just a different rule set, and it was sort of reinvented in the early 2000s in Austin, Texas, and has now taken on a life of its own all over the world. So we're part of the Women's Flat Track Derby Association, and our sport is international in scope. So we are ranked along with more than 500 other teams around the world in our league, or our association, I should say.
So by a slanted track, do you mean it was like there were slopes or like jumps, kind of like a BMX or something?
Yeah, like kind of like a motocross speedway or like yeah. So there's still bank track roller derby. There just aren't very many banked tracks in the nation. Like San Diego has one. Actually, one of our teammates played bank track roller derby quite some time ago in San Diego and now plays flat track roller derby with us. So it's still a thing. There just aren't very many of them around the nation and the world.
And I think flat track just tends to be much more accessible. You kind of just throw some tape on the ground and do what you do. So I know people will play in parking lots, in warehouses. We play at Redwood Acres, so we have a really nice concrete track, but it's just much easier to kind of throw things down and go. Whereas the bank track, you have a very large kind of apparatus that you have to have space for and take around. So I think flat kind of made it a lot more accessible.
Yeah, it's like building a skate park versus hanging out in a parking lot.
Yeah.
So we are taking any flat ground that's smooth that we can roll on and making it into our place to play sports.
So a question I've heard frequently, which is how I feel about some sports myself. I'll be like, oh yeah, I'll watch this sport. I have no idea what's going on, but I'm like, yeah, go team, go game. Though it's you kind of went into the rules a little bit, though it took me a minute to understand when I first encountered and watched my first game. I was like, I don't know, this is exciting, but I had no idea what was going on. It just seemed kind of like a free for all to me from an outsider's perspective. The first time, and then somebody explained it to me, and I went, oh, which I'm sure is how many people feel about football or baseball or any other game. So if you so far we've got the person with the star needs to go around the track.
Yep. Gotta
Just
go
just
forward.
imagine I'm a newbie and explain the rules real quick. Or is it, I mean, we've got time. I'm
Yeah, well,
curious too.
they
Apparently, like
score
there's a
points
difference
by
between quarter
passing
point.
other people's hips from the opposite team. So all of those defensive slash offensive players that Doom talked about, they are going to be positioned on the track to try to both help their jammer, the person with the star in their helmet, and hold back the other person's jammer. So Derby is generally a pretty high point scoring game. Every pass around the track, every lap that the jammer makes, they could potentially be scoring up to 4 points. And so those points add up quick. So it's definitely like an exciting game because you score a lot. Things are always happening, but it's really passing other people's body with your body that gets the points. And so we've kind of had people ask. I actually had a friend who came to several games and then finally asked me where the ball was, and that was pretty funny because there's not a ball. Spoiler alert. Do you have anything else to add about how the game is played?
Oh man. I guess just in terms of the larger picture, each game is two 30-minute halves. And so you'll play for 30 minutes, take your break, and then play for another 30. But within each of those halves, there are 2-minute jams. And so basically one group of folks will go out and play up to 2 minutes at a time. And then the next rotation of players will come out. And so usually there's a 15, if you have everybody on rostered, there's 15 players for each team. So they'll kind of go out in those groups of 5 and kind of rotate a bit. But there's kind of jam after jam after jam. Sometimes they will go the full 2 minutes, which is a really, really, really long time. It sounds like it's not very long, but it is exhausting when you actually go the full 2 minutes. Another element of those jams is that, so you have one jammer from each team trying to get through and earn their points. Initially, when they're first getting through the pack, which is the group of offensive, defensive players, whoever gets out first and makes it past the other team is designated as the lead jammer. And so part of what that means is they then have the authority to end the jam early if they want to. There's a lot of different reasons why you might want to do that and not go the full 2 minutes. Often there's a lot of ways you can kind of run the clock. If you have a really, high score differential, you may want to do it to play kind of competitively where you see you just got 4 points and you want to prevent the other team from getting more. So whoever gets that lead jammer designation has a little bit more power and control in terms of if they want to, manipulate kind of how the points do and don't get earned. Or everybody may just be really tired and they want to end it before 2 minutes.
It's basically like wrestling on roller skates for 2 full minutes. So it's exhausting. And people can see that when they're watching it. I think that like important takeaway for newbies is the person with the star has the potential to score points. Everyone else is kind of doing defense and offense at the same time. And then, as you start to watch it more, you can figure out the strategy. Like where we are in the track really matters. But that's kind of hard to grasp at first, I think. And so that's kind of like, level 2.0 is learning like, why are people skating like that? And then kind of starting to pay attention to the penalties and some of the rules. But I do feel like the nice thing about Derby is it's pretty easy to see that, like, even if you're just watching the jammer go through the pack, it's pretty exciting. I agree with you, Talvi, that I'm a little biased, but I think our sport's pretty exciting. A lot is happening at once.
I will say a lot is happening. Have you ever do you clock people and see how fast they're actually going?
Ooh, that's a good question. I don't think we've ever clocked any of our jammers. We have some pretty fast jammers, but really, a lot of the part that's happening is like a slow grind where we're really like trying to push to find a way out, or there's a lot of like just heavy duty pushing of people. But yeah, we have some pretty fast jammers. I don't know, would you say I think Mad Plow disease is pretty fast?
Yeah, and I would say so. Oh goodness, I'm blanking on the exact measurements of the track, but it's like 100 by 75 or something. It's
something like that.
It's a sizable space. And I would say a lot of our faster jammers can do an entire lap. So they'll spend a lot of effort trying to push through these people or dance around them. And, you're already expending a lot of energy there. Once they pass them, and they'll do an entire lap of the whole track in probably 6 or 7 seconds for some of the faster folks. So they're doing a lot of intense pushing, and then they have to sprint.
Yeah.
And then they get to having to push and do a lot of hard stuff, and then they have to sprint again. So it's a lot of kind of high intensity, sometimes really digging deep and having to just push really hard, or having to really sprint and move really quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's a really physically demanding sport. But it's and another thing that's kind of fun about our team is we actually realized recently that we have just about 50-50 skaters who are over 40 years old and under 40 years old. So we have a lot of skaters who haven't played a sport before, who this is like their first sport they've really ever played. And a lot of folks who are in their 40s or even early 50s, both in our training camp and on our team. So it's pretty cool that we're able to, and I would say like body diversity is another thing. Like all bodies could be roller derby bodies. We've got some really small skaters who are super lithe and fast and quick, and able to get through little spaces. And then we have some people with really meaty legs and butts, and that's an asset in roller derby. Different, which is different for sports that women are playing. We're not an all women's team. We also include non-binary folks, and that's a cool part about our sport as well. So I feel like it's really inclusive, but often sports that draw a lot of women to them, I think there's an emphasis on having a specific body shape, and in roller derby, that's not really a thing.
Yeah, and I would say particularly too, there isn't sort of one athletic or body type for derby, that it really is each individual skater figuring out how to use their body most effectively and what works well for them. And so that's why you can have such a broad spectrum of people coming with all shapes and sizes, all types of skill sets. And as long as they figure out what works for them, they could be really good at roller derby. It's not like you all have to be this exact kind of shape or size and in order to be good.
Yeah, like Talvi, you're pretty tall. I feel like you could be an amazing roller derby skater, actually. Have you ever tried?
You're not the first person to say this. If I have the Derby crew has attempted many a day. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see down the line. I'm a
How
little.
tall would you be with roller skates on?
Well, with rollerblades, I'm about 6'6".
Okay.
Most people don't realize that I'm a really, really tall person. They hear my voice and they see me on TV. I'm actually 6'2".
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's fun. It's
I
fun.
love it.
I love
That's one
being
of the
tall.
things
So.
that's frankly fun about wearing roller skates and just being on skates. Once you kind of develop some mastery, I'll never say I've fully mastered anything about being on roller skates, but once you develop some skills, you feel really strong and powerful. It's a very powerful feeling sport.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is, and I have a couple of questions. Let's get one in because you did talk about the ages. I know there's a interesting split over 50-50, over 40, under 40, you also have a little saplings team, which I have heard
We don't
about,
since
and
the
I've heard that they're the
pandemic.
most brutal, fiercest team around. And
Yeah.
and people are like, you should just go watch it just because it is absolutely nuts.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, definitely. So unfortunately, our juniors program is sort of on pause for now. Since the pandemic, we haven't quite had the support and momentum to be able to really bring it back, but it is definitely something we are aiming to bring back once we're able to. But yeah, there is a junior program, the saplings, and I think we even had the seedlings for the younger skaters. But yeah, I think I can't remember what that age is, but kind of 11 to 18 is sort of the biggest range for juniors. And a lot of it, especially when they're really young or new to it, is just, again, skate skills and getting them comfortable on skates and then starting to understand some of the play. It is not the same degree of full contact as the adult leagues, but yeah, they are fierce. They get, they get very, very good at the game and just all of the skills that come with it. They are fierce and intimidating. And we've definitely, even just within the Humboldt Junior League, we've had a few folks who have kind of aged up and decided to play roller derby as adults. They've played with Humboldt Roller Derby, or when, if they've moved, they've found other teams. And I think across the sport overall, you tend to see some of the most impressive skaters are often folks who played as kids in junior teams because they really just they move on skates the way anyone else might just walk around on their feet.
They're
And
so
just,
incredible.
oh, yeah.
They're so skillful. I mean, it's wild to see. And some of the best roller derby skaters in the world now are like former junior skaters that are now playing for their adult leagues. And it's pretty humbling and amazing. It's definitely a sport I wish I had in high school. Our saplings have been some hard-hitting and impressively talented skaters who played like some top level derby. But I will say we're a volunteer-run league, like many sports leagues, and we did struggle to come back from the pandemic. I would say an indoor full contact sport was one of the least pandemic-friendly sports, unfortunately. There's basically like slobbering all over each other and breathing in each other's faces, and there's no personal space in roller derby. So it was we took our time and came back from it pretty slowly to make sure we were safe and respectful of our teammates and our community. And we haven't yet been able to start back up the juniors program, but I hope it's in the works.
I hope so too. Now seems like a good time for us to take a real quick break. You're listening to Thursday Night Talk. We're talking about Humboldt Roller Derby. Be right back.
Rock me.
Well, if that song doesn't want you to get on some roller skates and go bash into, well, I don't know what will. We are talking Humboldt Roller Derby. That song was written by the composer of all the other songs that typically play on Thursday Night Talk, the opening and the break themes. That's Thomas Chan. And he wrote that song specifically for Humboldt Roller Derby. He's a huge fan, so thank you to Thomas for writing that specifically for this one moment.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Thomas. We love it.
Yeah, it's perfect. It captures a lot of the intense, frantic energy of roller derby. It kind of makes us like get excited and want to go skate.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll send it to you so you can play it during your games.
Oh,
Yes.
perfect.
I just
Well,
said
you
that.
all are playing it during our games while you're covering us, which is so
Yeah.
cool. I love this new partnership where y'all are helping cover our games and get us out to a wider audience. It's pretty rad.
We love that. We love that too. We were super stoked on it. I know a few years ago it happened, then obviously pandemic, and now I'm impressed with everyone that helped put that together because I'm excited. I'm hoping I can make it to the game, which is March 30th is the next game, and you can listen to the Humboldt Roller Derby game live right here on KZZH 96.7 FM, which is what everybody is listening to. Which is this is Thursday Night Talk here with Brawn, Luke, Picard, and Bridge of Khaza-Doom, Humboldt Roller Derby skaters. And I wanted to get back to the fact that they're okay. I mean, I think the little kid factor is adorable, and the fact that there are. I'm so glad that you spoke about just the strength of every body type in Humboldt Roller Derby. There's a place for everybody. I've played a lot of sports in my life. There's certain body types that, let's say, are typecast as, you're a swimmer, you're a basketball player, you're volleyball, you're martial arts, you are, and if you do play those games, you're this position, you're this position. It's all based on it's a very the sports is a very weird world. It almost feels like thoroughbreeding horses for
Yeah.
something. Whereas Humboldt Roller Derby, it's like I know I'm a large woman, and if I went on that thing, I know I'd probably be put in a bruiser position, which sounds great. To be honest, it sounds
We're
like
all bruisers,
Yeah.
Talvi. We're all bruisers.
yeah. There's few teams that I would want to ever have like against me in life. It's all Humboldt Roller Derby. Though there is something when I went to my first game, I was actually working security, which seems hilarious that I was working security for Humboldt Roller Derby because I don't think y'all need it. Though it was adorable because these little like girls were coming up and being like, "Can you go get this player and have them sign an autograph?" And it's just like what a great representation of womanhood in a lot of ways. And it's adults having fun so kids know it's okay to grow up in a lot of
Yeah.
ways too. The kinetic mentality. It's just the Humboldt County mentality. So I wanted to say that, though I also we keep talking about the bruiser aspect. It's a dangerous sport.
Yeah, when you reach a certain age, all recreational sports are dangerous. I will say, I've been fortunate to not break any bones yet, knock on wood. Yeah, and a lot of that I have to chalk up to our training camp program. It takes a while to get through. We do essentially like 2 5-ish month camps that you have to go through level 1 and level 2 to learn basic skate skills and then how to start doing full contact roller derby and learning how to, how the game is played. And we take people through like training that takes basically a year if you're really fast. It took me about a year and a half to make the team. So, the nice thing about that is every league does that differently. We choose to kind of give it a while so that people are as safe as possible on skates. But thankfully I haven't broken anything yet. I've had some, twists and sprains and stuff, but what about you?
Yeah, about the same.
Yeah.
No broken anything, couple just ouchies and here and there, but nothing bad.
Yeah.
And I definitely was someone who came into this with no full contact sport experience before and, had probably not roller skated since I was 10 kind of thing. And so, yeah, I think really that training camp and those building blocks of confidence and really, the day one, we're teaching you how to fall safely and how to be able to get up in a way that isn't going to hurt you. And so I think at least with our league, we're really focused on learning how to do things well and becoming strong and confident and knowing your limits. And even in practice, when we're doing some of the really, really difficult things, we really encourage everyone to know where they're at, listen to their body. If they need to kind of sit out or maybe do something a little differently, we're not trying to hurt people. Definitely it can be a very intense game, but we're not going out there for blood, so to speak. Just in a fun way.
I think that's like a misunderstanding about roller derby too, maybe stemming from the a different era of roller derby where it was more like professional wrestling, a little bit more like staged combat. Sorry, professional wrestlers. And yeah, we are actually playing a sport with a rule set that involves not hitting people in the face or the neck or the head or the spine, or low blocking. You can get a penalty for basically kicking people's feet out from under them intentionally or even unintentionally, or accidentally punching people. So I think people's perception of roller derby is a little bit based on something that was played decades ago. And I actually wish they'd changed the name, but they didn't. So yeah, our sport is definitely hard hitting. Like we hit each other on the butt and hips, and the side of the body really, really hard. And sometimes you'll see these spills where the whole audience goes, "Woo!" But I will say more of my friends have gotten hurt playing recreational softball and soccer than roller derby.
Or just standing on their skates and just accidentally slip and oops, I broke something.
Yeah,
classic happens. Where you're not actually getting injured doing the big scary thing.
Yeah. So we do have a text from somebody that asks, is there ever any actual anger involved? Do you get mad at the other team?
Oh, good question.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I did in our last game. So we played two games on February 24th. The first team, I'll just say, was super friendly and fun, and we won that game. And then the second game, we're starting to get exhausted and a little bit grumpy, I would say. Just like it was just a long, hard game. And I got, those occasional hits, like where you do get hit in the face and it's not intentional, but it's really painful and disorienting. I think that's the only thing that's ever made me like really mad. And it's very temporary. It's pretty fleeting. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, I think it really probably depends on the individual person and how intensely competitive they are, if they're really there to kind of have fun, or just, kind of your individual personality will probably impact that a lot. I think I tend to be I'm here to have fun kind of person. So I don't tend to have that kind of approach, but I know especially folks who are really trying to make sure we're winning, or if a referee makes a call that they don't agree with, it might be really frustrating and they might get kind of angry. Or if they're really disagreeing with sort of what the other team is doing, I know there definitely can be moments of pretty intense anger. But we just generally, at least as a team in a league here, we try to, even when things are really frustrating or not going the way that we think they should be going, we want to be respectful and have an environment that is still fun and enjoyable for everyone. We're not trying to, be unsporting. We're really trying to, still look at it that we are here to play a game, even if we're being really competitive and it is really intense. It's still ultimately supposed to be a good thing.
I will say sometimes when another team hits my jammer really hard, I get this rush of adrenaline, like I'm going to hit them, I'm going to get them. Mm-hmm. That's more competitive than it is anger. I'm just not a very angry person. I don't know. You're talking to two people who like just don't get angry very easily. Our teammates might feel differently.
That's fair. I'm sure if I asked, I mean, as you said, it depends on the individual and how competitive and perhaps how many internal anger issues they're carrying at that moment. Transference, it's a thing. And I guess it's better to take it out on, while you're on roller skates in a contained environment than elsewhere, right? That's my story that I'm going to stick with.
Maybe a common thing for a lot of roller derby people is, life can be hard and there's a lot of intense emotions, and often roller derby is a really good outlet to work through your feelings, or to just sometimes you need to take anger and frustration out by moving your body really intensely. And so I think that can often be a nice relief for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So that question did come from a text. If anybody else would like to text Brawn, Luke Picard, or Bridge of Khaza-Doom, text 707-498-4146. On to the next question, the roller derby names.
Oh yeah.
How in the world are you all so creative? It's kind of brilliant.
Oh man, do you have a favorite like roller derby name of all time?
There's some good ones, but they're definitely very inappropriate.
I was there's some that are not safe for radio or they're just a little bit too adult. One of my favorites on our team is mad plow disease. So plow is a style of skating stop. It's like our most used way of stopping. It's called a plow stop. And so I just think mad plow disease is a very funny name. And we also have a teammate whose name is Kate's Bush. So I like that one too. But how we come up with our names is yeah, it's definitely like a personal choice kind of thing. Usually people pick a hobby or something they care about or some pun based on their name. I chose Brawn Luke Picard because I don't associate with some other words related to like sports, like being really fast or really agile, maybe, but I know I'm pretty strong. So I felt like brawn and brawniness was something I could bring. And I'm a huge Trekkie.
Nice. Yeah, and I kind of went a little bit of part hobby, part play on your government name. So my name is Bridget, and Lord of the Rings. If anyone has watched Lord of the Rings or read the books, in when they're in oh my goodness, my brain is blanking. That's just how that goes. But when they're in Moria and they're running from the Balrog and there's on the bridge where Gandalf has the famous, like, you shall not pass. That bridge is the bridge of Khaza-Doom. So I was like, well, my name is Bridget, and that's a pun on a bridge and Lord of the Rings, which is a thing that I like. So I think a lot of folks tend to kind of do that type of thing if they have something that they
Well, I
really
feel
like.
like I've been saying your name wrong though. So is it Bridget of Khaza-Doom?
Just bridge, but
Bridge of
yeah.
Khaza and Khaza-Doom, because I think I said Zoom like twice too. Because
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
And
like how you
it's
just roll
kind
with
of
it. You're
funny
like,
that I think in Derby, no matter how long or short your name is, we tend to come up with like just quick little 1 or 2 syllable names for everybody. So I've just become Doom. And
And
then
I'm
yeah.
Brawn. Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah, it's good. Good stuff. Yeah, a lot of our teammates, especially like in the early days of Derby, I was just looking at some throwback photos that Rose City Rollers put up. They're the team from Portland. They're currently the best team in the world, and they've been at that level for a while now, several years running. And they posted some early 2000s pictures and names, and I feel like a lot of their team had names that were like puns on their own names. And then it sort of evolved over time. You also used to be able to pick both letters and numbers. So we had a teammate for many years, McNasty, whose number I think was 34B. And so now we can't use letters anymore, unfortunately. But yeah, we do get numbers still.
Yeah.
It's just a random draw, I guess. So we went into the history a little bit, and so have you always been at Redwood Acres? Because I know since I've been here,
Yeah,
long
they started
time.
skating as a league in Blue Lake. So neither of us have been with the league since the beginning, but I think it was around 2006. They began practicing and skating in Blue Lake, at the Blue Lake roller rink. And then I'm not sure when the move happened to Redwood Acres, but we've been at Redwood Acres for quite some time. We sometimes do practice at the Eureka Municipal Auditorium, the Eureka Muni. But it's not quite big enough or laid out right for us to have what are called sanctioned games. So games for international rankings have to meet certain criteria. And that facility doesn't quite make the cut. So we're pretty much at Redwood Acres.
As much as we can be.
Yeah, yeah. We love being there.
Yeah.
Seems like a pretty cool spot. Uh,
Yeah.
so for future sake, when I'm gonna have you repeat this continuously throughout the show. Just when are games? When is it happening? How do people go to these games?
Awesome. Do you want to talk about our next game?
Yeah, so our next game will be Saturday, March 30th. Like I think most or all of our games, it's a double header. So there are 2 games back to back. So it's kind of a full night of fun. And this game, I'm already forgetting who we're actually playing.
I've got it right here.
Beautiful.
We're playing Santa Cruz Hellcats. So Santa Cruz is a pretty competitive team for us. So our Redwood Rollers, which is our competitive team that plays for rankings. I should say all of our teams are competitive, but that's our team that plays for our international and regional rankings is playing Santa Cruz. And then Root Force is playing the California Derby Galaxy Supernovas. So they're kind of a mix of players from multiple leagues who are super fun to play against. So that'll be, we always have the ranked game last. So the first game is going to be like a really fun game with a mix of levels of skaters. And then our second game will be our charter team playing Santa Cruz. So it'll be fun. And let's see. Our games are pretty fun. Do you want to talk about why they're fun?
Yeah. And I will say they're fun not only for like your average attendee, but often when we have visiting teams, everyone who comes with them says, wow, this is so special and so different from all the other games we go to. It's a whole production and an event. So doors open to the public at 5 p.m. You can come, hang out, get a drink, have some food, listen to great music. And so there's sort of an hour for people to come get their seats and hang out. And the first game starts at 6. But we have kind of a whole production. So we've got announcers who are talking through the game, usually in a really fun, interesting, animated way. We've now got you all doing radio coverage. And so you're kind of sitting there doing the blow by blow as well. We've got usually the dirty derby blowhards, anywhere from 15 to I think there were 30 people at our first game back in September. So kind of got the awesome live band there playing a bunch of music.
The band, the dirty derby blowhards.
Dirty derby blowhards. Yep.
Yeah.
What kind of music do they play?
Oh, well, you may know them as the Marching Lumberjacks.
Oh,
and the Crabgrass Band.
Yeah.
So they are members of that general cohort. They play the same style of music that you hear at all the fun events around town. But we usually have a slightly smaller subset of them just because they're playing indoors in what's basically a warehouse with concrete floors. So they've kind of scaled back the number of people, but they are so fun. We love them so much.
Yeah, and they'll usually play when we have timeouts and then kind of roll into the gameplay. And so it's very fun, very animated. The crowd all gets into it. It's a really good time. And it's anywhere from kind of fun rock or punk or pop, or they've even started playing Star Wars songs. And so they kind of play their full repertoire of fun stuff. And then, yeah, we've got a DJ for the event the whole night, playing a lot of really fun music, kind of across the board, but often stuff that does get the blood pumping and you're excited. It's not just like your fun lullabies. And then yeah, there's lots of great local beverages that are donated, and we have food and drinks, and yeah, it's very family friendly. I believe 10 and under are free.
Yep.
So definitely feel free to bring the family. There's a lot of just interesting stuff to watch.
Yeah. We definitely strive to make it a family-friendly environment. So even though it's a hard-hitting sport, we love having kiddos there. And it's we often have a lot of fans who are youth.
And we definitely have an area around the track down on the ground that is 18 and over, because they've got the big bumper pads, and we want to make sure in case anyone takes a spill and goes sliding into the crowd, it's not into minors.
And people do go flying.
Oh yeah.
We also have a lot of volunteers. So we have skating officials. A whole bunch of our skating officials our referees are like rolling around with us. And they're pretty incredible. Like they have to develop some serious skills. And then we have officials who are off skates. So it takes a pretty huge army of people to put on these games. And that's one of the things that's really fun about it. But also really challenging is we always have just a huge team effort that's involved putting on our games.
I do want to talk a bit more about the army behind the players and and everything, though. Let's take a quick break. You're listening to Thursday Night Talk. Welcome back to Thursday Night Talk. I'm your local host, Talvi Fried, talking with some local derby crew. We are talking Humboldt Roller Derby. I'm here with Brawn, Luke, Picard, and Bridge of Khaza-Doom. And you can join in by texting. We are taking texts. Don't try to call us. Don't call me.
Don't call.
Yeah. Feel free to text. A very modern way of dealing with the world. 707 498-4146. Again, that's 707-498-4146. We're in the last third of the show, though we've discussed a lot about Humboldt Roller Derby, though I want to go into the people behind the scenes, the army behind the players. You mentioned officials. I love that the Dirty Derby Blowhards are the Crabgrass Band, which is the band for Derby. It makes me very, very happy. Oh, we already have a text. I love that. Is there a World Series or playoffs for Derby?
Yes, sort of.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. There is a playoff game, usually a playoff championship. Often it's like a tournament style. I'm not sure. To be honest, I didn't watch this last one. So the post-COVID roller derby situation has been a little different as teams were all kind of getting back up to speed at different times. And so it was hard to rank them against each other at one point. Now we're getting back in the swing of it. So Portland, Oregon has had the reigning champs for a while now. In the past, Gotham Roller Derby from New York has been at the very top of the world, kind of top of the world roller derby teams, and as has Victorian Roller Derby from Australia. So, and we're starting to see arch rival who are from Minnesota.
I think so.
The one with the arches. I'm really bad at knowing about the Midwest. We're starting to see them creep up there. I think they might be number 2 or 3 right now, and they're pretty incredible. So yeah, there are some like absolutely top-notch teams to watch.
Yeah, and so our governing body, the WFTDA that we mentioned before, that we're a member of, they have kind of recently revised how they do rankings and how they're doing playoffs and leading up to the champs. And so there are definitely regional playoffs that happen in different parts of the world, and then ultimately will coalesce into sort of a champs weekend where they'll have sort of the top, anywhere from 6 to 8 teams after all of the gameplay come and actually do kind of a final weekend of roller derby. And I believe at this point that's happening every other year. And this coming year in November, there will actually be world championships in Portland in the beginning of November.
Yeah, it's going to be amazing. I will say anywhere you go in the world, pretty much you can catch roller derby. I mean, there's definitely some parts of the world where it's less common. But I will say, like, when I've traveled, a few years ago, I went to like basically a summer camp roller derby that was in Spain. Great excuse to go to Barcelona. And I got to play in some scrimmages and take some workshops with some of the like best skaters in the world. Also, I went to Reykjavik, Iceland once and saw Team Iceland play. So there was a period of time where we had like Team USA, Team Iceland, and there was a bit of like more of a world champs attempt to make like roller derby Olympics. And we'll see, that may end up materializing again. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, and definitely echoing the it's a fun way to travel is anytime I've traveled for work or fun, inevitably there is some kind of roller derby happening wherever I go. And you just say like, hi, roller derby. And then you have this amazing community just welcome you with open arms. And suddenly it's just enhancing your experience dramatically.
Yeah.
That was pretty awesome. So back to now, what does it take to get the players on the field and have that game go? All the people behind the scenes.
Yeah. A lot. As Brawn mentioned, I mean, we are a volunteer organization. So even all of the players themselves are volunteers. They have jobs, anything to do with PR and communications, or they're kind of running our merch, or they're folks who are in charge of the entire event production or wrangling all of the many other volunteers. I myself am filling our treasurer and CFO role. So everybody is all doing this just out of love of the sport and love of the amazing community that we have in Humboldt. It's very special even among different roller derby areas. I think we've really established a really strong relationship with community and with all the people who want to volunteer with us. And especially for our games, I mean, we have so many volunteers and people who dedicate their time and effort just to help us do what we do. Sometimes, like Brawn was saying, that's officials who will be on skates actually doing kind of the refereeing. There's people who are not on skates, but they're tracking points and they're tracking, you know, penalties and things like that. And then we have people, I know you mentioned you had done security a while back, and then we have folks who are selling the pizza and folks who are taking tickets and checking IDs at the door, and kind of everything in between. And it's something that without our volunteers, it just wouldn't be possible to hold the kind of event that we do.
Yeah, and we definitely always want volunteers. So because it takes so many people to put on our full production games, we have a pretty sweet gig for volunteers. So if you volunteer for us, we'll usually have you like do something for the like one of the games and be able to watch the other game. So it's basically, since they're all double headers, a chance to you know, watch one whole game for free. We give every volunteer a free slice of pizza and a beverage, a non-alcoholic beverage, I should say. And the rest is up to them. But yeah, it's a pretty sweet gig, really fun community, and usually a pretty light lift, but a great way to help out an awesome sports league.
Speaking of volunteers, every time I see Derby in the community, it's usually the group getting together and volunteering, be it at Oyster Fest or just everywhere. I think individually, the players that make up Humboldt Roller Derby are just very community oriented. So I do,
Yeah.
so appreciation for all the volunteer work that y'all do, even though it takes a lot of volunteers to run the games. It's also, the players definitely give back to the community.
Yeah, we'll be at Oyster Fest again, pouring beer this year. And so definitely come out and say hi. That's June 15th on the Arcata Plaza. So that'll be super fun. And speaking of events, do you want me to talk about the rest of our season?
Yeah.
Maybe some highlights?
Absolutely.
Okay, cool. So we've got, like we mentioned, the game March 30th. So that's coming right up, and we're going to be playing Santa Cruz. That'll be a really fun and exciting game. April 27th, we've got roughly a game a month, and then we take a summer break. So end of April, April 27th, we'll be playing Silicon Valley Roller Derby, who I don't think we've played before, at least not in the time I've been with the league. So that'll be fun. They're from, yeah, like the San Jose area. So something new for us. June 8th will be, or excuse me, June 1st, we'll be playing, it's still June 8th?
Yeah, that was the revised data.
Okay.
Yeah. June
8th, my bad. We'll be playing Sacramento. They're a fun rivalry for us. They're ranked higher than us, but we definitely feel like we can take them. So folks
we should be the capital. Eureka should be the capital of California. Let's all face that.
Agreed. Yeah. Yeah. We definitely can take Sacramento. So come and cheer for us on that date. And then we have more games September 21st and October 19th. So we'll be coming back in the fall. after our summer break and playing Southern Oregon and San Fernando Valley. So super cool to be able to have all these teams come play us from all around the state and from Oregon. And actually coming up really soon, on the 16th of March, our team is actually going up to Salem, Oregon to play against Cherry City Roller Derby. So that'll be a fun away game.
How many away games do you have during the season?
Usually a couple a year.
Yeah, kind of depending just on people's availability, which teams are reaching out. I think it's very common that teams will say, come play us, but it's a matter of if we can actually get enough skaters who are able to. But yeah, usually it's just a couple games a season, probably, if we're lucky.
Do you find it easier to get people out here than to go out there?
It's a mix. I mean, we definitely have teams invite us to play. We went and played Sacramento last fall. And we have the game in Salem, but generally we have, 5 or 6 or 7 home games per calendar year, and then a couple away games. And we have applied to some tournaments and are waiting to hear back. So another aspect of that is that, we want to play teams that are advantageous for us to play for our rankings, because we are still trying to competitively, move up in rankings. So we've had some wins, some losses in the last, several months, but we're working on, just developing our skills and getting stronger. But people do love to come play us because we're known for having really amazing games. So that's another reason to just appreciate our volunteers, because having them put on such amazing events and our fans just be such incredible fans really helps people want to come play us, because we have a reputation for being basically the best. Yeah.
I agree. You're totally the best. I will 1000% agree with that. I might be biased though, go Humboldt.
Yeah, for a small rural area, we really put on a good party.
Yeah.
That's for sure. I can't keep up with most of Derby, I will be honest. You're like, yeah, come play. I'm like, I don't know if I can. So, oh gosh, I had a question and now it's gone. But well, okay, here's a silly question before I remember whatever question I was about to ask. Have you ever thought about having a crossover with the Humboldt Crabs? Like the Derby team goes and plays baseball against them, and they come and play like a Derby game.
We've actually had kind of a relationship with the Crabs since our beginning. So the founder of our league, Jen McMahon, who retired from kind of passed the league on and let it be its own nonprofit and flourish in its own way. But our founder really kind of looked to the Crabs as an example of a community sports league that was really loved and well supported. And so we modeled a lot of our early stuff after the Crabs. We kind of sponsor each other. We take a turn going to the Crabs games and having Humboldt Roller Derby night at the Crabs. We have not taken on their players on the field. I feel like catching a ball with my hands is not my strong suit. So I will not be volunteering for that. But we have definitely, I've sang the anthem at the Crabs game. So we have a little bit of a relationship with the Crabbies.
Yeah, definitely planning out. I know we've gone to some of the mustache nights and just other kind of planning to show up as a team and just kind of take up a whole section and really show our support and love for them.
Yeah. We love them, and I like to think they love us. We definitely should maybe have them come do some sports ball in between games or something. I don't know. We'll workshop that idea.
Awesome. I'm like, my 2 favorite teams on the world get together.
Oh my God, that'd be the cutest.
So it would be the cutest. For those who are listening and being all, I'm kind of a tough person that wants to go around and around in a circle and run into people and go fast or slow and just be a bruiser. How do they do that? How do they get involved? How do they go through the training camp?
Well, we do, as Brawn mentioned before, we do run a few different training camps a year. I think there's usually one that kind of starts up in sort of end of January, early February, and runs kind of through May. And then we usually will start a second one kind of in August sometime. And so we will kind of do 2 camps throughout the year. And we have kind of 2 different levels. So the first level really is focused on skate skills and making sure that everybody is really confident on their skates and able to kind of do just general non-contact things. And then the second level is when we really sort of dive into what is roller derby, what are some of the strategies, how is that actually played, and doing a little bit more of the contact type stuff. We definitely really love anytime anyone wants to sign up for any reason. It may be that they are just really excited and want to join the team, and maybe they already have a lot of skate skills and they might want to go right into the roller derby part of it. We also have plenty of people who sign up because they want to remember how to roller skate or make friends and have a community and just have a fun way of moving their bodies and getting some exercise in a really enjoyable way a couple of times a week. So those training camps are really fun and really excellent. I actually started as kind of the latter of like, I just want to make some friends. And it was so fun that I sort of really got sucked in, you know, without even thinking about it. And here I am a couple of years later, still loving it. But yeah, definitely on our website, we have a lot of the information about signing up for the training camps. I'm blanking on the dates for the next camp now, but I know it will be towards the end of August.
Yeah, we haven't finalized those dates, but it'll be mid to late August. It usually kind of follows the school year to some degree, like often the Cal Poly Humboldt or College of the Redwoods school year. We do have folks who are both involved as instructors at the colleges and as students. So we kind of look to that as a bit of a guide. But people can go to HumboldtRollerDerby.com and check it out. And, you know, even if there's not a training camp coming up right away, you can always send an email and say, hey, put me on the list to our training camp coordinator, and they will definitely make sure you get the info for the next camp. It's a pretty screaming deal. We offer the camp at a pretty low rate, and it's all volunteer run, and we do have loaner gear available. So one thing about roller derby is you do have kind of a big investment up front with the skates and the helmet and all the pads, and we do want to make sure people are safe, but it is costly. So we offer as much loaner gear and skates as we possibly can to help defray that cost for people that are trying it for the first time. But I will say, you know, for me, I know you said you want to make new friends and do something fun. I think this is fairly common. Roller derby is has a funny way of bringing people to play it when they're going through a breakup. So for me, it was a relationship like on the rocks sport many years ago. I definitely wanted to get away from my boyfriend. I just didn't know how to say it at the time. And I just like the idea of, especially in the darker months, going and just skating inside with a bunch of people who were super rad and fun and had this kind of like punk rock ethos of DIY and like doing it ourselves and creating this sport and like making it all happen was just exactly what I was looking for. So I just wanted to move my body and get out of the house. And I thought I was just going to do training camp and call it good. And then it totally got its hooks in me. So, yeah. But we have a lot of teammates who have come to roller derby that way.
Yeah. I've heard the stories. I love it.
Sport.
It's a perfect sport for letting that those feelings out. So we're way deep into the round robin. So I'm going to give you each about 30 seconds just to kind of whatever you want people who are listening or watching on channel 12 to know. Just here, have 30 seconds. Let's start with a Bridge of Khaza-Doom.
Oh goodness. I mean, it's repeating what we've already said, but I mean, feel free if you have any interest, come out on March 30th. We have 2 games playing that night, and it'll be a really great time. And just if you're at all interested, I mean, we're on social media, Humboldt Roller Derby. Just kind of look at all the great photos of the game. There's videos. It's a really fun thing to kind of be involved in whatever way, even just as a spectator. If you know nothing about the sport, it's still really entertaining to watch.
Absolutely. Yeah, we've got, again, a game on March 30th and another one on April 27th. So a couple right around the corner. You can buy tickets online or at Still on Broadway in Eureka and at Wildberries in Arcata. It's super fun. Just come check us out. And I think you'll catch on pretty quickly if it's your first time. And if you haven't been in a while, we'd love to see you again.
Thank you so much for being on the show. We are about done at this point. So thank you to Brawn, Luke, Picard, Bridge of Khaza-Doom, Humboldt Roller Derby skaters extraordinaire. Thank you so much. We talked about Humboldt Roller Derby. Go to a game March 30th. And if you can't make it, somehow sadly, listen live right here on KZZH 96.7 FM. That's been Thursday Night Talk. If you have topics or suggestions for the show, email us at kzzh@accesshumboldt.net. And reminder, the show replays Friday evenings at 8 p.m. right here again, KZZH 96.7 FM. You can also watch a show on Access Humboldt's YouTube channel. Just look up Access Humboldt, look up Thursday Night Talk. Might want to type in Humboldt. You get hours and hours and hours and hours of your favorite locals. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm your local host, Talvi Fried. Maybe I'll see you at the Derby game on the 30th. Cheers.
See you there, Talvi.